Subscribe to Dr. Khalkar's Classroom channel and press the bell icon to get latest updates.
Hello everyone, I hope you are doing great. In my previous lecture video, I have discussed about magnetism. In this lecture video, I will discuss about superconductivity. So let's get started. The content of this lecture video is as follows. First of all, I will discuss upon introduction to superconductivity, behavior of resistivity for superconductors. Followed by I will discuss upon BCS theory of superconductivity, in which formation of Cooper pairs, electron lattice electron interaction in superconductors, Feynman diagram, density of states. Electrical resistance can be considered as a measure of the frictional force in electrical current flow. Thus, electrical resistance is a primary source of energy dissipation in electrical systems such as electromagnets, electric motors, and transmission lines. Copper wire is commonly used in electrical wiring because it has one of the lowest room temperature electrical resistivities amongst common conductors. Actually, silver has lower resistivity than copper, but the high cost and limited availability of silver outweigh its savings in energy over copper. Although our discussion of conductivity seems to imply that all materials must have electrical resistance, we know that this is not the case. When the temperature decreases below a critical value of many materials, their electrical resistivity drops to zero and the materials become superconductors. Superconductivity is a set of physical properties observed in certain materials where electrical resistance vanishes and magnetic flux fields are expelled from the material. Any material exhibiting these properties is a superconductor. Unlike an ordinary metallic conductor, whose resistance decreases gradually as its temperature is lowered even down to near absolute zero, a superconductor has a characteristic critical temperature below which the resistance drops abruptly to zero. An electric current through a loop of superconducting wire can persist indefinitely with no power source. Superconductivity. Superconductivity is a complete disappearance of electrical resistance, that is zero electrical resistance, in some materials when they are cooled below a characteristic temperature. This temperature is called as a transition temperature and denoted by capital T subscript C. The zero resistivity means almost infinite conductivity. A superconductor is a material that exhibits superconductivity above Tc. The superconducting material behaves as a normal conductor. Superconductivity is the set of physical properties observed in certain materials wherein electrical resistance vanishes and from which magnetic flux fields are expelled. Thus, the observed phenomena is called as a superconductivity. Now let's see behavior of resistivity for superconductors. A graph of resistivity versus temperature for superconductors shows a sharp transition to zero at the critical temperature Tc. Behavior of resistivity for superconductors at superconducting phase transition at Tc, which is shown in red line, and for normal metal, which is shown in blue line. In superconducting materials, the characteristics of superconductivity appears when the temperature T is lowered below a critical temperature Tc. The value of the critical temperature varies from material to material. Conventional superconductors usually have critical temperatures ranging from around 20 Kelvin to less than 1 Kelvin. Solid mercury, for example, has a critical temperature of 4.15 Kelvin. Superconductivity was discovered accidentally in 1911 by the Dutch physicist H. Camerlyn Wans when he used liquid helium to cool mercury. Wans had been the first person to liquefy helium a few years earlier and was surprised to observe the resistivity of conductor like mercury drops to zero at a temperature of 4.15 Kelvin. We define the temperature at which and below which a material becomes a superconductor to be its critical temperature, denoted by Tc. Progress in understanding how and why a material becomes superconductor was relatively slow, with the first workable theory coming in 1957. Certain other elements were also found to become superconductors, but all had Tc's less than 10 Kelvin, which are expensive to maintain. Although once received a Nobel Prize in 1913, it was primarily for his work with liquid helium. We know that there is no such thing as an ideal conventional conductor with resistivity equal to zero. All materials have defects and phonons, and to a lesser degree of impedance, electron-electron interactions. The concept of phonons we will discuss later on. As a result, from our basic understanding of metallic conduction, rho, that is resistivity, must be finite even at T is equal to 0. Nevertheless, many superconductors for which resistivity equal to 0 exists. The first one, mercury, was discovered by Wundt in 1911. It becomes superconducting for the temperature 4.15 degree Kelvin. Clearly, this superconducting state must be fundamentally different than the normal metallic state. That is, the superconducting state must be different phase separated by a phase transition from the normal state. A graph of resistivity versus temperature for mercury is shown in this diagram. It shows the resistivity is less than 10 raised to minus 5 ohm at 4.15 degree kelvins. A magnet leviating above a high temperature superconductor cooled with liquid nitrogen is shown in this diagram. Persistent electric current flows on the surface of the superconductor, acting to exclude the magnetic field of the magnet, that is Faraday's law of induction. This current effectively forms an electromagnet that repels the magnet. A magnet floating above a disk of ceramic superconductor due to a combination of flux spinning and flux expulsion. Different material shows superconductivity below their characteristic critical temperature as shown in this periodic table. The classification of superconductors is based on critical temperature and pressure, which are ambient and high pressures. For example, tin 3.72 Kelvin, lead 7.2 Kelvin, niobium 9.25 Kelvin, aluminium 1.18 Kelvin are ambient pressure superconductors, whereas Fe 2.1 Kelvin, silicon 8.2 Kelvin, selenium 8 Kelvin are high pressure superconductors. However, copper, silver and gold, which are very good conductor at room temperature, do not show superconductivity. Now let's see BCS theory of superconductivity. A successful theory of superconductivity was developed in the 1950s by John Bardeen, Leon Cooper and J. Robert Schiffer, for which they received the Nobel Prize in 1972. This theory is known as the BCS theory. BCS theory is complex. In a normal conductor, the electrical properties of the material are due to the most energetic electrons near the Fermi energy. In 1956, Cooper showed that if there is any attractive interaction between two electrons at the Fermi level, then the electrons can form a bound state in which their total energy is less than 2eF. Such two electrons are known as Cooper pair. Now let's see the formation of Cooper pair. The transition of a metal from the normal to the superconducting state has the nature of condensation of the electrons into a state which leaves a band gap above them. This kind of condensation is seen with superfluid helium, but helium is made up of bosons. Multiple electrons cannot collect into a single state because of the Pauli's exclusion principle. Froelich was first to suggest that the electrons act as pairs coupled by lattice vibrations in the material. This coupling is viewed as an exchange of phonons, phonons being the quanta of lattice vibration energy. Experimental evidence of an interaction with the lattice was provided by the isotope effect on the superconducting transition temperature. The boson-like behavior of such electron pairs was further investigated by Cooper, and they are called Cooper pairs. The condensation of Cooper pairs is the foundation of the BCS theory of superconductivity. A fun fact: most relationships have their ups and downs, their stresses and strains, their phases of friction. Electrons moving through a conventional conductor are no different, bumping into obstacles left and right, staying off the straight and narrow, getting hot under the collar. In superconductors, however, we find the most fortunate of lovers, matches made in science heaven. At sufficiently frosty temperatures, they bundle up into Cooper pairs that sashay right through the superconductor's crystal lattice, while all obstacles fall away. Overpowered by true love. A quantum cupid called a phonon is a positively charged wave that forms behind a moving electron, playing matchmaker by drawing a second love-struck electron into the picture to form the pair. This is just a fun analogy. To understand the discovery, you first need to understand the vital role of electron pairs in superconductivity. By pairing up together, the electrons are able to overcome any electrical resistance, making the material a superconductor. In short, no electron pair, no superconductivity. Now think of the electron pairs as a couple on a dancing floor. When the floor gets too hot, the couple starts to break up, but when more of these couples are cramped onto the dance floor, they tend to stay together up to higher temperatures. This analogy we can implement to the Cooper's pair. In formation of Cooper pairs, it is hard to imagine two electrons attracting each other, since they have like charge and should repel. However, the proposed interaction occurs only in the context of an atomic lattice. A depiction of the attraction is shown in this figure. Electron 1 slightly displaces the positively charged atomic nuclei towards itself as it travels past because of the Coulomb attraction. Electron 2 sees a region with a higher density of positive charge relative to the surroundings and is therefore attracted into this region and therefore indirectly to electron 1. Because of the Pauli's exclusion principle, the two electrons of a Cooper pair must have opposite spin. A Cooper pair can form as a result of the displacement of positive atomic nuclei. While formation of Cooper pairs, the distorted positive region attracts another electron of opposite spin, say electron 2. Thus a free electron, electron 1, exerts a small attractive force on another electron, electron 2, through phonons. A pair of free electrons thus coupled through a phonon is called a Cooper pair. How the Cooper pair passes through the lattice structure is shown in this animated diagram. Now let's see how electron-lattice electron interaction happens. The BCS theory is based on electron-lattice electron interaction and pairing of electrons close to the Fermi level into copper pairs through lattice interaction. Inside a superconductor, electrons that normally repel each other can pair up through a protons. The animation of electron-lattice electron interaction is shown in this diagram. In electron-lattice electron interaction, the behavior of superconductors suggests that electron pairs are coupling over a range of hundreds of nanometers, 3 orders of magnitude larger than the lattice spaces. Cooper pairs, these coupled electrons can take the character of a boson and condense into the ground state. This pair condensation is the basis of the BCS theory of superconductivity. The effective net attraction between the normally repulsive electrons produces a pair binding energy on the order of milli-electron volts. enough to keep them paired at extremely low temperatures. As shown in this diagram, phonon interaction is nearly around 100 nanometer, where the Cooper pairs of electrons between the lattice spaces of around 0.1 to 0.4 nanometer. Now let's see lattice distortion. A passing electron attracts the lattice, causing a slight ripple towards its path. Another electron passing in the opposite direction is attracted to that displacement. A visual model of the Cooper pair attraction has a passing electron which attracts the lattice, causing a slight ripple towards its path. Another electron passing in the opposite direction is attracted to that displacement. This constitutes a coupling between electrons which can be depicted in Feynman diagram in the next slide. Now let's see Feynman diagram. Feynman diagram is graphical way to represent exchange forces. Each point at which lines come together is called a vertex, and at each vertex one may examine the conservation laws which govern particle interactions. Each vertex must conserve charge, baryon number and lepton number. As strange as such an interaction seems, it is experimentally supported by the isotope effect, and the evidence for a condensation to a boson-like state at the critical temperature for superconductivity. When an electron, say electron 1, wave vector k approaches an ion in the lattice, there is a Coulomb attraction between the electron and the lattice ion. This produces a distortion in the lattice, and there is an increased density of positive ions surrounding to electron 1. Due to the lattice vibration, the energy is emitted in the form of quanta, that is phonon, represented by small q. Similarly for electron 2 with vector k prime. Now let's see what is density of states in superconductivity. The BCS theory extends Cooper's idea, which are for a single pair of electrons, to the entire free electron gas. When the transition to superconducting state occurs, all the electrons pair up to form Cooper pairs. On an atomic scale, the distance between the two electrons making up a Cooper pair is quite large. Between these electrons are typically about 10⁶ other electrons, each also pairs with a distant electron. Hence, there is a considerable overlap between the wave functions of the individual Cooper pairs, which resulting in a strong correlation amongst the motions of the pairs. They all move together in step like the members of a marching band. In the superconducting transition, the density of states becomes drastically changed near the Fermi level. As shown in this diagram, an energy gap appears around Fermi energy level because the collection of Cooper pairs has lower ground state energy than the Fermi gas of non-interacting electrons. The appearance of this gap characterizes the superconducting state. If this state is destroyed, then the gap disappears and the density of states reverts to that of the free electron gas. A relatively large energy gap is formed around the Fermi energy when a material becomes superconducting. If this state is destroyed, then the gap disappears and the density of states reverts to that of the free electron gas. The BCS theory is able to predict many of the properties observed in superconductors. Examples includes the Meissner's effect, the critical temperature, the critical field, and perhaps most importantly, the resistivity becoming zero at critical temperature. We can think about this last phenomena qualitatively. In a normal conductor, resistivity results from the interaction of the conduction electrons with the lattice. In this interaction, the energy exchanged is on the order of kBT, the thermal energy. In superconductor, electric current is carried by the Cooper pairs. The only way for a lattice to scatter a Cooper pair is to break it up. the destruction of one pair then destroys the collective motion of all the pairs. This destructions requires energy on the order of 10 raised to minus 3 electron volt, which is the size of the energy gap. Below the critical temperature, there is not enough thermal energy available for this process. So the Cooper pairs travels unimpeded throughout the superconductor. Finally, it is interesting to note that no evidence of superconductivity has been found in the best normal conductors such as copper and silver. This is not unexpected given the BCS theory. The basis for the formation of the superconducting state is an interaction between the electrons and the lattice. In the best conductors, the electron-lattice interaction is weakest, as evident from their minimal resistivity. We might expect then that is these materials, the interaction is so weak that copper pairs cannot be formed and superconductivity is therefore precluded. This is all about superconductivity and the BCS theory of superconductivity. In next lecture video, I will discuss about properties of superconductors. So please don't miss my next lecture video. Thank you.
Below this video, in the description, the link of important information related to this video is given. Please go through it. Please like and share this video and subscribe to Dr. Khalkar's Classroom channel to get the notifications about my upcoming videos. Thank you.